On this episode of Southern Fried Geekery.
And that was...
Somebody somewhere has touched themselves while listening to you talk about comics.
That was kind of
That just creeped me the fuck out.
I don't make this shit up.
You guys all watching Glow?
Yeah, I've seen the first season.
I watched both seasons.
I like to get blown. Does that help?
That's not what he said, but get the note.
I got to the scene where Ruth went to go see Sam's film, and then after they had that talk, and I was like, thank you for being a decent fucking human being. Not like Debbie. Because fuck Debbie.
Oh, Debbie's the worst.
Oh, dude. This second season, oh, man, it's really fucked up.
Ozark started again this past week. I'm really excited about that. It's a good show.
I hear good things. I need to watch it.
It's really good. It's like Dixie Mafia. Oh, well, real Mafia comes to Dixie. Which, not really.
That's odd. It's like Justified.
I thought I watched Justified.
It's like Justified. Justified's good. It's like Justified, but in the Ozarks.
I kind of have a crush on Timothy Olyphant.
John, I started watching
Respect.
5 episodes.
Ozark.
Was good.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really good.
I need to start the second season. I haven't started it yet. I love the first season.
Mm-hmm. So. I love that actor.
So we are on a little bit of a time constraint. I mean, not that I'm trying to pass it.
Oh, no, we're recording now. I was literally fixing to say, do you guys want to record a podcast?
Okay.
So do we want to record a podcast?
No, we're on a time constraint. No.
I didn't know we had started. So
I started recording, I've started doing this thing where I start recording, right when I set my laptop up, because it's, I can just go delete everything. It's stupid, like this. Hey, let's do this. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. This is episode 35. I can't believe we've been doing this for this long. And, seems like it's getting better every week, and I really hope you guys are enjoying it, because I am. As usual, I'm Caleb Alexander McKenzie.
As usual, I'm Craig Lance.
As unusual, I'm Sean.
As usually, I'm Jerry.
Yeah.
I couldn't come up with something on the spot. I'm sorry.
His wheels were turning, but they just weren't going anywhere.
You can see the smoke coming out of Jerry's ear. That's what's happening. He wanted to be all extra.
You took away
Porkey.
his catchphrase earlier, so
the little hamster in the wheel was spinning, but it just wasn't happening.
So how are you guys this week?
I'm good, man. It's been a fun week, an interesting week.
Yeah, we had Thai food last night.
We did. We went and had Thai food last night. It was a good way to end the week. And
I love that Thai food restaurant.
Oh, it's so good. There's if you're in Little Rock, there's a little Thai food place over off Shackleford Road called Zangna. It's in the Shackleford Shackleford Shopping Center. It's delicious. It's really good. They don't sell booze, which is the only issue I have with it, because I like to eat booze with everything. Drink booze with everything.
Like to eat your booze.
That's how boozy I am. I fucking freeze my
drink
booze.
His Thai food.
Drink your food, eat your beer.
Yeah, it's delicious. But yeah, man, do it same old school, work, life. It's been a lot of fun. I have read 3 books this week because that's my life now.
Because college.
Fetal position, crying.
I read 40 books, but mine only took 10 minutes a piece because they were comic books.
Nice.
I've been enjoying a staycation from work, and got a lot of drawings done with some beat art done. If you find people have been following our Facebook page, you've seen those.
Yeah, man. Some good stuff. So I did something creepy the other day at the comic shop and snapped a picture of you when you weren't looking and black and whited it. And at least 2 out of the 3 comic book bear guys are kind of in love with you now.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, they think you're the goodness, and you are. You are.
Well, they're finally getting to see what a real bear would look like, huh, Caleb?
I'm a hairless bear. I make no bones about it. I'm a terrible gay and a horrible bear because I can't grow hair, neither here nor there. So
that's a huge compliment.
Well, let's jump into
my week.
We didn't ask, Jerry.
That's right. I did ask that question.
You did?
Yeah.
My week's been all right. I've pretty much been on the staycation like Sean. I took off Friday, and I have until tomorrow off.
Oh, nice. And it is tomorrow. I guess we should say tomorrow's a holiday as well.
Tomorrow is Labor Day, yes.
Yes.
That's when you get to go back to work?
No, Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
But Stephanie left yesterday.
Yeah, that's true. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, as much detail as you want to, but the why she's leaving?
Well, she got
because you're a piece of shit. That's why.
Yeah, it's all my fault. No, she got a new job.
Yeah.
I don't really know how much about it I can talk.
Right.
But it's something that was really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be gone for 6 months doing it.
Yeah.
And it's essentially someone's on maternity leave. And like 3 people in the office before this girl could even recommend her. Like 3 other people in the office were like, hey, what about her? You know,
right.
What about Stephanie? Let's get her up here. So she is on her way to Seattle right now.
Very cool.
And I think she just texted me and said she's leaving Denver. And it is currently 9 o'clock in Denver.
Right.
So
Denver's a great town. Man.
Yeah, but she's got like a
gorgeous.
20-hour drive. And she was talking about doing it all the day, but I'm like, dude, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Does she know Russ?
Huh?
Does she know?
She
Russ?
doesn't. I told her that I had a friend that lived in Portland and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And just so y'all know how sweet and loving Jerry is, we met up Saturday, the day she left.
Yeah.
And he immediately put on his Free Hugs t-shirt because he's missing.
Well, we're going to...
I've never washed that shirt. It has so many hugs on it.
No, I mean, you can't wash it.
Don't think those are hugs.
I mean, that's the only way you keep the creepy factor of that shirt it has in itself.
Well, all right, guys. Well, it's been a long week, not just for us, but for the geek culture in general. The world, it kept spinning, and we've got some news to talk about. So let's get through this stuff and kind of see what's happening in the world. So you guys know I'm a huge fan of the show Sons of Anarchy. Yep. Back when it was playing, watched all the episodes. My favorite character from that show was a character named Opie, who, sorry for the spoilers. I guess, as always, spoilers for things in the past. This show is kind of, we're going to keep it current. Opie gets knocked off in the show, and it's really funny because being my favorite character, the episode where Opie died was the first episode that Roger, my husband, ever saw of Sons of Anarchy. So we're at my apartment back when I live in Georgia. He comes there and I'm like, hey, I want you to watch my show with me because this was new into our relationship. It's like, Opie's my favorite character. He's my dude. Bam. Lead pipe. Bag of the head. Just gone. And he's like, well, that was quick. But the guy who played Opie is an actor named Ryan Hurst. And he's been in lots of things. I think the first time I saw him was Remember the Titans. Yeah. And he's going to be playing in a little show called The Walking Dead now. And he's going to be playing a character named Beta. Now, I don't read The Walking Dead. I know you guys both.
I know exactly who this character is.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about who Beta is and what I can expect.
In the current, it's not current, because I've dropped the book, but I was still reading during this. During the foes called the Whisperers came into play, and they have a leader called Alpha. And she has her number one henchman, Beta, who is a fucking giant. In the comics, he's huge. He is mean as shit. He's tough as hell. So Opie is a damn good casting for this. A side note, call him Opie still because he is my wife's boyfriend, and she cried.
She's got good taste because
unless he shaves his beard, then she don't like him.
Yeah, same, kind of the same. Yeah,
but he has a beard in Walking
Dead.
He
does. He did grow out, even though Beta didn't. He looks better with a beard.
But Beta was kind of scruffy.
But he
didn't have a full
Opie got
beard.
his Opie beard back.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty good casting. I kind of dropped off Walking Dead when Negan showed up because it was just...
Right.
I just kind of got bored with the show, to be honest with you. Still reading the book, and I think from what I know of this, it's just good casting.
It is some damn good casting.
I'm excited about it. We still watch it because Raj is in love with the show, but we don't watch it live. We're unplugged from cable and all that stuff, so we have to catch up on the back end. So I'm still kind of a season behind. So
how weird would it have been had they cast him to play Negan, and then your favorite character from Sons of Anarchy killed Roger's favorite character from The Walking Dead?
That would have been divine karma, and I would have loved every second of it. I really want Ryan Hurst to get cast as playing Ghost Rider. Like, if they ever do the Johnny Blaze version of Ghost Rider, I think that dude is a perfect casting for it. Or Moon Knight. He would make a good Moon Knight, too.
I kind of liked, what was his name that they got to play in Pacific Rim?
Nicolas Cage.
The guy from Sons of Anarchy.
You're talking about Jax.
Yeah.
I can't think of his actual name.
Charlie
Hunnam.
Yeah. I always thought he would make a good John.
Also, my wife's boyfriend, as long as he has a beard.
I just remembered somebody's fucking name. Holy shit. That happened.
And we always had that kind of thing of, like, if they were to do Green Arrow in, like, a movie, that he would have been a great...
Charlie Hunnam would make an excellent Green Arrow.
I don't know that anybody can ever play Green Arrow outside of Stephen Amell.
I mean, they can.
Awesome.
I know.
Stephen Amell's good, but yeah.
I mean, he's a great Batman. But I mean, I'm sorry, Green Arrow.
A lot of people are familiar with a movie and or book called The Shining by Stephen King. I know I didn't know this. Did anyone know there was a sequel to that book?
I knew there was a sequel. I never read it.
I never heard of this shit. It's called Dr. Sleep.
Yeah.
And they are making a movie. Did you know they were making a movie sequel?
I did not know they were making.
This was all news to me this week. It caught me out of left field. But they are making a movie version of it. And they've cast Kylie Curran as a character, Abra Stone, who is a character much like, I'm going blank on the son's name from The Shining, who has The Shining.
He has The Shining.
The son now is grown up and is working with her.
Okay.
And I think he's telling kind of story about what happened in the hotel, and just like that's a little bit I know about the story. I didn't see that when we posted the article on our Facebook page.
Yeah. But
I'm down. I would love to see a trailer on it.
I mean, it's Stephen King movies are hit and miss to me. I'm excited for this because, I mean, I loved The Shining, the movie with, back in the 70s, original one.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Jack
the book.
Nicholson,
Yeah, Jack Nicholson. And, I mean, even Shelley Duvall was great in it. And, I mean, that kid was terrifying in it.
Mm-hmm.
They put Scatman Crothers in that movie. You gotta love that.
Yeah.
So for one of my classes that I'm taking this semester, it's called The Politics of Horror. And so horror, HORROR, not horror. We're not studying the politics of horrors. But one of the films we're looking at literature and film. One of the films we're going to be watching here in a few weeks is The Shining. And yeah, so it's going to be kind of an interesting take to see how other people per se take to The Shining. It's kind of a mixed bag of students and the professor. If
you can find the documentary, I believe it's called Room 246. I think that's the room they were told to stay out of. It's a documentary where people really break down that movie and go way overboard. It's highly entertaining. Just so you might want to prep yourself for what you're probably going to hear. Yeah, for sure. Well, and another thing, we watched this trailer in class the other day that somebody remixed the trailer and made it to look like a rom-com. It's
that's hilarious.
It really is amazing.
But I'll be honest, with Stephen King's It, I'm sure is what really pushed this forward, the popularity of this. I'm just happy they're doing a sequel instead of a remake.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So that alone has got me at least interested in the film.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Have you ever seen the movie The Freshman with Matthew Broderick?
Oh, God, it's been a long time.
And he's in a class, and it's about them. They're teaching film studies, and one of them's the Godfather film. That's what your class reminds me of. That's going to be just described.
I've got really cool classes this semester.
Yeah, sounds like it.
What's your favorite Stephen King movie and or book?
So, honestly, the remake of It would have to be way up there as far as movie goes. The one that flat out creeped me out the most that was hard for me to watch was Pet Sematary.
Yeah.
And the book is just as creepy. So
for me it's actually arguably my number one movie of all time is actually Shawshank Redemption.
Nice.
That's just a perfect film and written based on a Stephen King short story where he excels. In my opinion.
Absolutely.
Misery.
Oh, yeah.
Would really fuck me up back in the day. But I also really like The Mist. Just showing that whole level of, how quickly society will collapse in, a situation like that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So if I had to name my favorite book is Firestarter. Really love that book. My favorite movie is, I think I might be the one person. I love Tommyknockers.
You are the one.
You are the one.
I think that movie is phenomenal. Also, was it Rose Red?
Rose Red, the miniseries?
Yeah,
that was really
TV.
actually really
that
good.
That was really good.
It was a haunted ghost story. I know I said that Pet Sematary is probably my favorite book, but honestly, it's probably the Dark Tower series.
Yeah.
I mean, the series as a whole. There's some of them you can live without, but
you haven't seen that movie yet.
I haven't seen the movie and probably never will. Well, I will because it's Idris Elba. Yeah. So
you're not going to see it because not in the comment.
All right.
Moving on to comics news. So there's this book, little known book that people like to complain about called Ms.Marvel.
Yeah.
And they talk about how it didn't sell ever and how, it was just, a big flop in the comic industry because it just...
Yeah, total flop,
Yeah, total flop. It sold over 500,000 trade paperbacks.
Yep, such a failure.
Yep. But, of course, the scumbags out there.
2,000 comic book stores in the U.S. too.
Yeah.
So,
so, I mean, honestly, this was a book that was used by the Comicsgate people to show how diversity in comics doesn't work.
It's not working out too well for him.
It's not working out too well for him because this book has been critically acclaimed. It has stayed in the top 10, I believe, in book selling, not just graphic novels, but in books.
And New York Times bestseller.
Yeah, and sold 500,000 copies of the trade paperbacks.
Well, and it's the book is written by a writer named G. Willow Wilson, who is a phenomenal writer. She's incredibly talented.
Also a Muslim?
She's a Muslim woman. So she's able to bring some of her perspective to the character, and that's been very cool to see. This is a good way to see how the comic industry is evolving.
Yeah.
It's I mean, they're going through Scholastic sales. They're going through Amazon sales, bookstore sales. People, I mean, we put this up on our Facebook page, and we had several of our listeners come on and just say, hey, like, this makes perfect sense to me because I don't read weekly comics. I get the trade paperback because weekly comics are expensive, and I can get
storing them and everything that goes along with
room, and they're just like, I'm not a collector per se, so there's lots of reasons that people do this, and so congratulations to Ms.Marvel and that team because they made something awesome, and it's one of the best-selling graphic novels out there, or collected versions out there right now. 500,000, man.
So I read Ms.Marvel when it first launched. Mm-hmm. And I read the first few issues, and I dropped the book because it wasn't for me.
Right.
But I realized there was a market for this book. My point to this is that I didn't immediately think this is the end of comics, that they wrote a book that's not for me. And that, unfortunately, that's the way some people think. But I wish I would have stuck to this book because they've done some amazing things with this character. But again, first few, I'm on a lot of books, so if a book doesn't grab me in the first story arc, a lot of times I will drop it. And I probably should have let this one go a little bit longer to kind of pique my interest a little bit more. But, it is what it is, and, I missed out, but I can buy the trade at some other point.
She's a really cool character.
Yeah, I've read her. That character's been in other books, The Champions. There was an Avengers book where they had all the kids in it. And her character's great. I mean, her and Miles Morales teamed up together. And the kid that's now Nova, the three of them working together, always a lot of fun.
Yeah, and her relationship with Miles Morales is extremely cool. I don't know, it's a really fun book. I'm glad to hear it's doing really well. I'm glad to hear it's getting in the hands of people outside the just kind of on-the-face consumers of comics. Branching out.
You'll hear people tell you that there's only 100,000 comic book collectors in America. Yeah. I think this quite honestly proves them wrong.
Well, there's a difference between collectors and readers. I mean,
but I think when they say that, they mean readers. In their context, they mean people buying the comics.
Yeah.
They're not looking at the whole picture.
No, there's a whole, you're right, absolutely.
They're looking at weekly floppy sales. It's the same people that say that Batman's failing because it's only selling 50,000 copies a week right now.
I just eye roll. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
I eye roll.
I mean, it's that same group of people, though.
Yeah. It's just like Chicken Little of the nerd culture. Everything's falling because your life is shit.
Well, that particular person claimed that the comic industry was dead this week.
Because
he got called out by Jeff Lemire.
He's right. The comic industry is dead.
I wish he would go away.
Making films. Yeah. In kind of a other, I think, really, really cool news. Do you guys know what the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is?
I do.
So for those of you who out there who don't, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is I think it's a nonprofit. I'm not sure if they have a 501c3 status or not, but they provide legal services and kind of advocate against stifling comics. They advocate against censorship, and really, really good people. They do a lot of work. There's been some complaints in the comic book industry over the last kind of decade that they should be doing more, like that they're kind of as effective as a wet rag. And so they went through and they changed some leadership up in this past year, and they named a new president. And the new president is Miss Christina Merkler. Now, does that name ring a bell for any of you guys?
Honestly, no.
So Christina Merkler is one of the founders and operators of the discount comicbookservice.com, the company that basically you can go and order your books at a discounted price online. They ship them right to your door. You know, it's a great way for people who don't live in a metropolitan area, people who live out in rural places, to get their comics, you know, without spending a mint. Even people who do, you're going to get them cheaper. So that might be an interesting thing for those of you who you're balling on a budget, like a lot of us are. If you want to get more bang for your buck, check out dcbservice.com. But recently they moved their offices to Memphis. And so the new president of the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is set up not too far from where we're at, about a 3-hour drive, because that's where the kind of diamond hub is. And so it was supposed to make it where they could get like their packages from Diamond and distribute them in a faster rate. I don't know if that's worked out or not, because I've seen a lot of people kind of getting their stuff but they seem to have a really good customer service department. So just if you're having issues, just get a hold of them. But yeah, really cool, because right here in our little area in Memphis, the president of the largest creator rights advocacy group is within arm's reach of us, so to speak. And I think that's really cool. And, you know, in a world where people are a certain group of people are constantly railing against women in comics, or the leadership of women in comics, the president of that is now a woman. And I think that means a lot, and it's also deserving. She's earned it. She has been on my radar as a person for a while, because she also is, you know, I've got a lot of friends who in the podcasting world, they sponsor them, just do a lot. So she's a super cool person, incredibly professional, and I'm really proud of and for her.
So yes, the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is something that I've thought about supporting, and just honestly haven't pulled the trigger yet. You get quite a bit for your sponsorship. You get free comic books throughout the year. You get some other things. But the big thing that they do is just exactly what you said. They actually, if a comic creator gets sued or has to sue to get his stuff out there, his or her or whoever's stuff out there, they will actually provide legal counsel for them. So it's a good thing. It helps to prevent censorship in comics, which to me is a big deal. You know, there's been some things over the past couple of years that have caused some rollback in comics, you know, some feedback or whatever. And I don't know exactly how they've helped in those situations, but you have to believe they're in the background doing stuff.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's just something to support to help the creators.
Pretty much.
Indeed.
So, congrats to her.
Well, and not even just the creators, the customers as well. You know, I don't want to live in a world that has the comic industry ran by the Comics Code Authority again.
Well, I mean, okay, yeah. So you can go back, and there's a handful of comics that have been changed against the creators' wills because, or just won't be published anymore because something happened and the creator wanted it this way and the publisher won't print it again. So it's things like that. I think Bone #1 ran into that, which Bone is sold at Scholastic now. I mean, Jeff Smith's making a ton of money selling a comic book that was originally banned to children now. Yep. Rain, Spider-Man Rain.
Oh, yeah.
That one was pulled, and they changed the printing against the creators' decisions. So it happens throughout time. So it's important to not allow censorship into this medium, in my opinion. You know, there's been a couple that I was talking about. Batgirl, the Raphael Albuquerque cover that didn't make it actually on the T-shirt because it's a beautiful piece of art. Well, I understand because that was a little bit different situation because that was the actual writer and artist of that book came out and said this isn't the type of situation we want to show this Batgirl in.
Right.
She's evolved since then, and
Raphael pulled that himself.
That's right.
His decision.
That's right. So that one was a little bit different. There was the Spider-Woman cover that made such a big deal.
Yeah, the Milo Manera.
Milo Manera Spider-Woman cover. It didn't actually get pulled, but it was a big deal for a minute. Mm-hmm. So there's been some things over the past couple of years.
So how much do you guys know about Starman?
I love Starman in Justice Society of America, Jeff Johns' run.
Mm-hmm. Was that the Jack Knight version, or was that the red and blue costume version?
It was the Jack Knight version.
Yeah,
it was where it was black
the
with
one
all
where
the stars.
He looked like Dr. Star from Jeff Lemire, because that's the one that he based.
It was basically a black costume with stars in it.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Wendy Freeman's going to make a voodoo doll of me somewhere because she loves that character. And I know very well about it.
Okay, but consider this: there are fucking 12 successors of that, and the character is essentially Theodore Knight was actually the first Starman, and he invented the gravity rod, the cosmic rod. He invented the gravity rod and then reinvented it as the cosmic rod, and it gives him all of his powers and everything. It's kind of been a technology that's passed down from Starman to Starman to Stargirl, and so on and so forth. Well, Scott Snyder just announced that he's bringing Starman back. He hasn't said which one exactly. I think they mentioned that there are going to be multiple ones coming back. And it's going to be in Justice League number 7. He also mentioned Justice Society stuff, which we don't have any Justice Society books at the moment. So I don't know if that's maybe a hint of future Justice Society books.
Starman is generally associated with Justice Society.
Yeah, JSA. Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming that it's going to be some sort of time travel thing. Where he is from an alternate reality or something of this nature. He comes over, he helps them out. And then we get a spin-off Justice Society book out of it. That's what I'm hoping, because I really freaking want a Justice Society book.
And I think Snyder would be perfect for that book.
I do too. Really the closest we had was Earth 2 in New 52 to Justice Society, but I really want a Justice Society. Yeah, and Snyder would be perfect.
Snyder was quoted in saying, Will Starman comes into it soon. All this crazy stuff comes in. And Will Payton was the 6th Starman, which I don't really know a lot about that version. But like they've released all kinds of like images, and they're hinting at a bunch of them coming in somewhere in the Justice League book. So
maybe we'll have a Starman team.
Ooh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. So actually, this coming week, September 5th in Justice League 7, we're going to get our first taste of that.
Very cool. Well, all right. Well, that's kind of all the news that we collected that hit our radar. If there's something that you didn't hear that you want us to talk about, or there's something that you just didn't get enough of, come to our social media pages. Come to Facebook or Twitter, Instagram. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we'll jump on there and chat with you, because a lot of stuff happens. We don't have the time to cover it all, and we don't know we know what's important to us. I know what's important to me. I don't know what's important to you out there in Radio Land, or even my brothers sitting here at the table. So, if there's ever anything we don't cover that you think needs to be, or you want to be, or you're interested in, shoot it to us. Let us know what you're talking about. Unfortunately, and this seems like it's happening more and more and more, it's almost to the point it's becoming a regular part on the show. Not all news is good news. We are at the point where, we are now losing the second generation of what I call the second generation of comics creators. People who had
the 60s.
People who had one foot in the golden age and one foot in the silver age. They're now reaching the ends of their lives, and that means that we get to unfortunately share some sad news. And we had two. I don't think you can consider them anything else but titans. Two titans of the industry that passed away this week. Gary Friedrich, who is the co-creator of Ghost Rider, passed away at the age of 75. He had Parkinson's disease, and those complications from that largely contributed to bringing him down. He was such a pillar in the comics world. He had a hand in things that we don't even know about. There are so many ideas that if you listen to these older creators talk about, creations that they made, or anything else that, came out of him sitting at a table just like we are. That they decided, at these summits and things like that, they're like, oh, that's a good idea. Can I play with that? Sure, go ahead. Like I said, he co-created Ghost Rider. The man could write anything. He dabbled in everything. He wrote romance novels, or romance comics back when they were, a really big genre in the comics canon. He worked with Steve Ditko, who just passed away, on the Blue Beetle stories, like the Ted Kord Blue Beetle stories. He created westerns with Roy Thomas, who, big Avengers guy that I absolutely love. And he just did a lot. And it's sad to see him go. Equally sad, on the same note, Marie Severin passed away this week from... It was reported that she had a stroke in the last year, and that she just kind of went downhill after that. She was 89. She was older. It's really hard for the geriatric community to really recover at that age. Their immune systems aren't bouncing back, and that's unfortunate. But, she had a great long life. She co-created Spider-Woman. She was inducted into the Will Eisner Hall of Fame in 2001. She, again, kind of have to use the same verbiage, just a titan, just a pillar of the industry. She is one of Marvel's most celebrated colorists. I don't think that there is very little in the 60s to the 70s that she did not touch or influence, at least in some way. Her brother was John Severin, and she kind of came into this industry where her brother was at the time a bigwig, and just made her own mark. Just moved heaven and earth, and just decided she was going to be a fucking rock star, and she was. She, for me, y'all know the Hulk is that's my dude. She drew the first 5 issues of the Hulk when it got its own solo title, and nice. That's her. That's who she is. She also did Not Brand Ek. If you guys remember that kind of satirical comedy book, and as Sean always likes to say, 10 bell salute to these people that we owe a lot. As fans of this industry and as fans of this community, we love what we love on the benefit and the pleasure of these dynamic people. We owe them everything. So,
well, and the thing about Marie Severin is she was a female creator before female creators were really a thing in comics. She was, back in the time that she was doing her work in comics, most females that were in comics were in administration roles.
Right.
And support roles.
They certainly weren't in editorial roles or...
That's right. So,
And thinking upon that line, women like Marie Severin, women like Flo Steinberg.
Yeah.
That just really made their mark, and in many ways don't get the attention and the credit. I mean, I think people know Marie Severin.
For sure.
I still don't, I don't think she got her due when she should have. Or her due and proper, her credit when she should have. She gets it kind of now. But just the idea that comics is or always has been a boys' club is incredibly wrong. And the influence of women in comics is long and varied, and we wouldn't have this industry without them. So this one really bummed me out. This one hit me where I live, kind of. This is like, losing the great aunt that you didn't get to visit that often, but you knew she was awesome, sitting somewhere with her little cute little teacups and just being a badass. That's unfortunate.
2 big losses for the comic industry.
For sure.
And on the back of, another huge one last week, and just right after losing Ditko, and yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, before we move on to our next segment, I got a little bit of cleanup from last week to do.
Okay.
Yeah, you were talking about Jughead the Hunger,
mm-hmm.
and I told you that Reggie Mantle was not the jock. I read that book, and they actually have him as the jock in that book for some really weird reason.
They
That's not
changed the roles. For
so I corrected you on something that I shouldn't have corrected you on. But I don't want somebody else to pick up that book and read it, and I know you're fine with it. But it's one of those where in this universe he is a jock, whereas in most universes, Archie universes, he's actually kind of the bad boy,
right?
So, my bad, because I hadn't read that book yet. So.
when it comes to the Archieverse, you are way, way better, more well-read than I am. So I just I assumed it was probably something like that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to.
Well, I want to, we are human and we make mistakes on these podcasts. And I think, I personally would like to address when I do. So.
That being said, you're fired.
I will take my stuff and
I'll take my stuff.
You don't have to take your stuff. You just have to tell us to leave.
Take my studio and make it my home.
Get the fuck out of my house.
So just again to reiterate that, we really love doing this podcast, but there's a little bit more that we do outside of the podcast, like social media, Facebook, just that kind of stuff. We have a lot of fun on our Facebook page. We're getting more and more interaction. It's really great tapping into and talking, quote unquote, typing with people, some of you that we've never met, that we don't know, from all over the place who have different opinions on things, and it's really cool. We like to be a fun place. We like to be an open place, and a place that we can all just share the fandom. Part of doing that, one of the things that we've started doing on our social media is our dope doodler Sean is kicking all kinds of ass, just drawing every day, and he has graciously decided to incorporate that into part of our show format. And so what he does is, on our social media site, absolutely anyone, can go on and request anything, absolutely anything. Like, we have now broken the threshold of things.
Yeah, we've gone overboard a little bit.
The earth is
amazing.
The ban is lifted, and everything is just flooding out. And so he takes these requests and he draws them, and he's going to give a shout out to the people who request them. So what'd you draw this week, Sean?
This was a very interesting week. It started off with Anubis from the 90s anime, Ronin Warriors. Some of y'all might remember. He was
no.
Exactly. It was an anime that was dubbed over here, kind of coming off the heels of Power Rangers. It was decent for its time. But Anubis was one of the villains, actually. He was a warlord. I always remembered him as... It was requested by my good friend Adrian Hill. Mm-hmm. And all he said was a warlord from Ronin Warriors. I picked Anubis because of his catchphrase of his main attack was called Quake with Fear. It's just a great, fucking, you got to yell out every attack you do. Yeah. It's a good one. I liked it. Yeah. After that, I got requested to do my favorite New Mutant, Ron Sinclair, Wolfsbane, from one Wendy Freeman, who, special shout out for her today. Congratulations on playing drums at the live wrestling event All In.
Yeah.
She was super excited about that, and I'm super excited for her, and I will get any chance I can to mention wrestling on the show. Yep. Congrats to her for that, and thank you for that amazing request, because I wanted to draw Wolfsbane.
She's so cool. She really is.
After that, we got Super Shredder from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie 2, Secret of the Ooze.
I'm sorry.
I know, right? A dual request, because, first of all, one Stephanie Straw requested Shredder. And then one Jonathan Fletcher said, no, make it Super Shredder. And Stephanie's like, yes.
All right, go ahead and throw your wrestling reference into this one.
He was played by Kevin Nash, the professional wrestler in the movie. You knew that. That's impressive. But that was a dual request then at the end of the day from one Stephanie and Jonathan.
A twofer.
After that, we had Penelope Pitstop and the Hooded Claw from... I know she's from Wacky Racers. Did she have her own cartoon?
She did.
Okay, because I didn't remember the Hooded Claw. I remember her from Wacky Racers.
Yeah, he was the bad guy in her.
Right, so I had to look up reference for them, for sure. That was from one John R. Rader. Mm-hmm. If I got your name wrong,
it's Jean.
Jean.
Yeah,
yep. John R. Rader.
Yeah, like the French.
Oh.
He just made it creepy.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
That's offensive.
Really, really cool guy that lives in Warner Robins, Georgia. Former Air Force service member. Really good friend. Really good friend.
And if that horrible French thing I just did offended you, feel free to come on the show and punch Jerry.
What? Wait.
After that, I was requested to draw the Golden Girls from one Stephanie Straw. Wrapping up her list of requests. So
this to me was perfect.
Did you like that one?
I would have never thought about it, but I love the Golden Girls. Surprisingly,
who doesn't?
They're amazing. I was really I got cracked up when you drew that one.
I worked hard to try and at least get them down.
You did a good job.
I should have added under her request as the Sailor Scouts.
I would have ignored you completely. After that, I got requested a drawing of me suplexing Jerry.
Best drawing ever.
Yeah, I think it definitely got the most responses out of anything that you've ever drawn.
I think it definitely opened up a lot of dialogue. And speaking of opening dialogue, it was requested by your house neighbor, Jonathan Cook.
House neighbor.
If Arkansorian is going to be a thing, house neighbor instead of roommate is a thing. House neighbor.
I got Sean to say Arkansorian.
I did.
Today is a win.
So, would you consider your significant other your house neighbor too?
No, because we share a room.
And a bed.
In the bed. I assume you and Jonathan don't. I'm not prying into your life.
She would be his bed neighbor.
Bed neighbor.
Yeah.
That's fine, but house neighbor, we have adjoining rooms. It's a house neighbor.
The receptacle of
Listen, I mean,
Look, I may not have remembered what a roommate was called when I first said that, but now I'm making it a thing. Hashtag house neighbor.
I mean, if
Hashtag
you're in the same
Arkansorian.
room, wouldn't that just make it like a loft?
Jerry, just
Or-
quit.
Don't bother, Jerry. Drink your
You're
second
gonna
cup of coffee.
You're gonna hurt yourself, kid.
The smoke is coming from your ears. And finally, after that, we had the Meeping Angel.
Which was great, too.
Because Caleb gets silly every now and again and saw a cosplayer who took Beaker from the Muppets and made him a Weeping Angel. And as we know, Beaker only says Meep.
It was the best.
It was great. It was actually very fun to draw. I enjoyed that one.
Now it looks like other people are making similar requests of mixing genres and stuff.
It's happening. There's more wackiness
It's great.
that's coming, so stay tuned.
And what's fun about, at least, you suplexing Jerry, the Meeping Angel, the robot, French robot from a few weeks ago.
Robot, yeah.
Thing. These things that people were requesting that are not, I guess they're not just extremely mainstream broad stuff, but they're stuff that you're having to get creative with. Some of the best stuff you've done so far, man. Like they're just the cartooning that you do.
Yeah, we all love
the suplex.
Gary.
Although I have a bone to pick, like
He wanted to suplex
I'm a little
Jerry.
offended on something.
You're
I
offended?
requested a long time ago me stabbing Jerry in the neck with a wine glass.
Yeah, you asked for a watercolor of that, and I need supplies.
Do I need
That's
to
going to happen.
Do we need to go back
Also,
to school
it may
shopping?
break face code rule or Facebook coding of what
Face
you can
code
post.
book.
I know, right? And you can actually post.
Our page is gonna get
It's
banned.
going to get banned. It's going to be flagged by
It's just
Jerry.
going to be like a bunch of different pictures of
I'm
people.
literally gonna go on and be like, nope, I don't want to see this. It's offensive.
All of the requests are going to turn into Sean or Caleb hurting Jerry.
I'm okay with that.
But
As
I
long as
totally
it blows off steam for you guys, I guess.
I totally made it our background.
He
picture
did make
on
it our
Facebook.
banner on Facebook.
We love you, Jerry. We really do. And we have not actually suplexed. Well, I haven't at least suplexed Jerry in real life.
I've wanted
None
to.
of us have
Many years.
have violently assaulted our Jerry Bear. He's our
Is
baby.
that always the thing when we got to a hotel room? Like, hey, let me suplex you.
Yep, he
Wait.
never would let me.
Tell me more.
Well, first we took our clothes off.
Speak slowly.
There's a lot of body oils involved and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was this week's drawings. Keep it up. I've still got quite a few, but I need more because there's still a lot more to this year. And honestly, I'm probably going to continue even after my New Year's resolution is over.
Yay.
Keep the numbers going too.
Will do.
Yeah, it's gonna, man, it's been fun. So another thing we do with our listeners, besides them requesting amazingness and you making it happen, is sometimes they ask us questions, and sometimes we have answers to those questions. Sometimes we don't. But when we do, we like to bring them to the show, or even if we don't, we'll talk about them. We live in an age where the information is right at our fingertips, so we have some time. We can look it up and get back to you. So we have picked 3 questions out of our grab bag of listener cues, and we're going to bring them to the show today. And so the first question comes from my buddy, a sweetheart, Mr. Rod Hendrick. He wants to know, do you know which actor who was a major character from Star Wars appeared in an episode with the 3rd Doctor Who? And I know I can count the things about Doctor Who that I know on not just one hand, probably one finger. I haven't ever dived into that universe, but I know Craig is a huge fan of it. A huge fan of it. And did you know the answer to this when he asked this
I
question?
did not, and he actually answered the question on Facebook. And
yeah.
the answer was Jeremy Bullock was Hal the Archer in the Time Warrior. For those of you that don't know, Jeremy Bullock was Boba Fett. So how I didn't know that, I don't know. But I honestly was not real familiar with the crossovers. So I went and I prepared a list here of honestly, there is a crap ton
Right.
of people that were both in Doctor Who and in
There were many British actors alone just in the Star Wars movies.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, it's really not surprising that there was this high level of crossover, but considering the size of those two franchises, and they were dipping into the same pool of actors. But because I did the same thing, I went to the Great God Google and just was like, holy shit, like everybody's in here.
So, yeah, I made a list of some of the bigger names, and I'm just going to read through them real quick and tell you the roles they played in both. Matt Smith, who was the 11th Doctor, and Richard Grant, who played the Great Intelligence, are both going to be in Episode 9. Right. So that's kind of a new one coming out. Felicity Jones, who played a Master Thief in a Agatha Christie episode, was Jyn Erso in Rogue One. Simon Pegg, who we all know from Star Trek fame and everything else, was both in Doctor Who. He played the editor and was Unkar Plutt in Episode 8, The Force Awakens. David Tennant, the 10th Doctor, played a droid in the Clone Wars cartoon. Yeah. Warwick Davis, who has been in every Star Wars movie since Return of the Jedi, played Emperor Porridge in an episode. David Prowse, who played the body of Darth Vader in the original trilogy, played a Minotaur. Do you say Minotaur or Minotaur?
I say
Minotaur.
Minotaur. Okay,
Yeah,
so he's played a Minotaur in Doctor Who.
Well, like I paused because I know what I want to say, but I also have a bad case of South Mouth.
Yeah,
and so like
it's one of those that I'm very aware that I probably said wrong. So Spencer Welding, who played the body of Darth Vader in Rogue One, had lots of roles in Doctor Who, including The Creature, The Wooden King, and Skaldic. John Hollis, who was Lobot in Empire Strikes Back, played Professor Sondergaard in a classic Who. Julian Glover, who surprisingly is not related to Danny or Donald, played Richard the Lionheart and Scareth in Who. He also played General Veers in Empire Strikes Back. He was also in The Last Crusade.
Oh, very cool.
As a Nazi sympathizer, and was in Game of Thrones as Meister Pycelle. I don't know how to say that.
Okay.
So,
Meister Pycelle. Garrick Hagen, who played Biggs Darklighter in Star Wars, had a couple of minor roles in Who. Silas Carson, who played Ode in Doctor Who, also played Newt Gunray and Ki-Adi Mundi.
Ki-Adi Mundi.
Yeah, however you say it. I always said Ki-Adi.
Ki-Adi Mundi, if you're offended by how we say it.
You're probably right, though, because it's one of those weird Star Wars names that never really gets
from
pronounced.
The Jedi Council, and like I love some Jedi Council. If I love nothing else about Star Wars, it's the Jedi Council stuff. And
now some like kind of fun little crossover things. Bost's costume was in Doctor Who and reused for Star Wars for Bosk. Karen Gillan, who was a longtime Who companion Amy Pond, plays Nebula in the MCU. Yep. And the last one is Harry Melling, who was the kid that played Dudley Dursley, the cousin of Harry Potter, is actually the grandson of Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor.
Okay.
Very cool.
And I'm sure
there is a crap ton more.
It's insane, but. And Rod is kind of an expert on Doctor Who, so I'm sure he's going to listen to this and be like, oh, well, here's like 5 more.
Oh, yeah, and there is a lot more. I could have went on and on with the list, but time constraints and so forth.
That dude loves it. But so this is why I like listener questions, though. It's a good chance to learn some kind of neat trivia that I otherwise wouldn't have an excuse to know.
Indeed.
It also makes me want to watch, or at least tap into Doctor Who when I have time. That is such a daunting catalog.
Start with the new stuff.
Yeah.
And the Ninth Doctor.
Yeah, start with the Ninth Doctor on. The episode, they're only like 14, 15 episodes a season at most, so you can get through it pretty quickly. And then, if so compelled, go back and watch the classic Who stuff.
All right. Well, I will, and you should too. So Tyler May asks, what characteristics make a great villain?
Somebody else start. I just talked for a while.
He's got the dry mouth.
For me, it's honestly, it's basically shown very well in Killmonger and Black Panther, which we did talk about on our Black Panther thing. You need viciousness and sympathy in my opinion, for a good villain. He has to be scary, intimidating, a real threat. But you also gotta, even if it's only in the dark side of your being, understand what they're after. I think that makes a very good villain. You know, you can have the fun, this basic villain, I just want to destroy the city, you know, and that's fun, that's fine. But if you want a memorable, long-lasting villain, for me, you gotta kind of understand their cause.
Right.
Whether it's just like a small part of you or even a big part, really understanding why they're going. Because to me, a sympathetic villain is someone who's like, I want to do good, but I'm going to go a little fucking overboard in how to get there. So like I use Killmonger like as far as a recent reference for a villain you can understand his plight, but also understand that he just went a little too far. And he was a threat, he was intimidating, he was an effective villain.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what type of villain you're wanting. What type of villain you're tapping into. Because I agree with everything you just said. I think you're 100% on the mark. I think in addition to that, there is another type of villain, and that's the villain that you love to hate.
Yeah.
So off the top of my head, I'm thinking, you know, because we have Doctor Who references, the Purple Man from Jessica Jones. They played with this idea of tapping into some sympathy with the Purple Man in that, but at the end they just like it was an act. Right. And you just kind of shrug it off, and you just learn to love to hate that guy. Like he has no redemption. There is no redeeming factor on it. He's just a creep, and he also makes an amazing villain. And I think that's a factor too. There's so many ways to do good villains, and I really think at the end of the day, it boils down to their relationship with the protagonist.
Right.
Is there a thread of sympathy? Is there a thread of just pure antagonism, pure evil, if you want to call it that, and what emotion that they evoke in the audience. Because I think each one is an amazing villain. You can have both types, and they're doing equal work. And so it really it depends on what you want to look like. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what relationship have they built with the protagonist.
Yeah, I mean, a relatable villain is always something. Like, if you could put yourself in this villain's shoes and be like, I don't know that I wouldn't, you know, go this route if I had this super intelligence or these abilities or something like that. You know, especially if you see that they've been wronged by society and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You're like, you know, if I was brought up this way, I would probably be this pissed off about things too, you know. And I mean,
we just learned the dark side of Jerry. Yeah. So to go along with what Sean started with, were you still going? I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. With what Sean said is, you know, Darth Vader was good in the original trilogy without having that sympathetic. Mm-hmm. You didn't understand why he became Darth Vader. To me, he became a better villain when you understood why he became Darth mm-hmm. Vader. I know there's a lot of people that will argue that, but for me, he's a better villain now that I understand what drove him to be that villain.
Indeed.
But originally for my answer, I had it's got to be somebody that challenges the hero on multiple levels.
Yeah.
For me, it's somebody like the Joker that's smart, he's cunning, and he's able to stand in battle against Batman. Batman doesn't just beat his ass.
Right.
It's generally a battle. So to me, it's somebody that challenges the hero on multiple levels, but also all the things you guys said.
Right. So kind of retouch on what I brought up about sympathy. I recently showed my wife Infinity War, and she was actually getting a little annoyed in it. First of all, she's a bad person. She didn't really wholly enjoy it. But in the middle of the movie, she kind of like, I really don't like how they're humanizing Thanos. Thought about that statement. I was like, is it because you're getting mad that you're actually sympathizing with him? And she's like, yeah, I think so. Like, he is a complete horrible tyrant, but I kind of get his cause. Mm-hmm. So she got mad because she was actually feeling like, you know what, he's right, but he's going about it the wrong way, in a sense. And I think that's an effective villain.
I do too. I don't disagree at all. So our last question really doesn't have anything to do with comics or movies or anything else, but we're going to make it that way because we have the power. So Rod Hedrick again, this guy, Captain Doctor Who himself, wants to know, what are our favorite hair products? Which is a really fun question for a podcast of 50% of which either is bald or has buzz cuts. So, but I'll answer because I use a lot of hair products. My favorite right now, and this kind of changes, it's seasonal, is a is a pomade called Suavecito. Really good stuff. It's got a really thick hold. Kind of gives you this rockabilly look to it. It's got you can get it with a good sheen. I have black hair, so I have black and frizzy hair. So it keeps it in place, gets it a little bit of shine, lets me style it the way I want to, and it holds 4 days. So, and I love it. What about you, Jerry?
So I've always wrestled with my hair because I have like really bad cowlicks.
Does it suplex you too?
So our friend Sonia, it's been the bane of her existence too. Every time I come in, she has me on Layrite Super Hold, and so usually whenever I get up in the morning, I just like wet my hair and then dry it off a little bit, have it just a little damp, and then just do like a pinch of it and get it in there, and just it sets for the entire day if I have the windows down or whatever whenever I'm driving. It's good stuff, and it doesn't make your hair like hard, like most gels do and everything. And that's a really uncomfortable feeling. So I'm really into it. Layrite Super Bowl.
Nice.
Check it out.
Hairless Peanut Gallery.
Well, my haircut from the same Sonia is perfect, and it doesn't need anything because I have a short fade. She occasionally slaps some beard oil in this gorgeous beard of mine.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I use Herbal Essence shampoo because my wife buys it for me to wash it.
What scent?
Moroccan oil or something like that.
I use whatever soap is on the bar, which,
Turtle wax.
Whatever it is.
You're never going to get the combo bears to love you if you don't.
Oh, no, they
don't. I
know. That makes me a little sad.
I'm still just flying high on
the CBBs also think that you are quite the handsome gentleman.
Oh, well, that's impressive because I don't believe I am. So.
You are a handsome.
You're a
handsome man.
You both are hot commodities in the bear community. You should
If I ever think about experimenting in the gay, dabbling in the gay.
You hear that, my wife who doesn't listen? You better appreciate me. I got options.
Yeah. Don't do that because then Stephanie will come after me and she'll absolutely blame me. I said that we were going to kind of tie this into nerd culture, geek culture. Who do you guys think has the best hair in comics, manga, or pop culture?
I mean, that's really easy for me.
You said manga to fuck us all up.
I got it.
It's Medusa.
Medusa?
You think Medusa?
She doesn't use hair products. It's her, ability.
What is a better hair in the comic book world than being able to use your hair as an ability?
You aren't wrong.
Who do you got there?
Who do you
Best Genius from My Hero Academia.
That's a damn good one.
Yep.
Because that dude has the pompadour from hell. And it's impressive.
Frankie. Sorry, did I steal it?
Okay, go ahead and tell everyone my option. Yeah, go right ahead, dude.
I'm sorry. Go back. Cut mine out.
Yes, Frankie from One Piece, who has hair that can change at will to any style, from cannons to bananas to fucking his original pompadour. Just press his nose in whatever style he wants. Craig.
I'm sorry, dude.
Well, my thoughts originally went to Medusa as well, because how can you not? If you think about hair in pop culture or comics, you got to think Medusa. But you know what? Clark motherfucking Kent, man.
That curl.
Huh?
The curl.
The curl.
That you have occasionally.
Probably because it mimics my own a lot. The dude is a dapper man. He's got a nice haircut, goes sees a quality barber, gets his cut done, got his fade right. So living that good life.
Do you think they'd have to use kryptonite scissors to cut his hair?
That's a good question. Honestly, I've
thought at one point they showed him didn't they show him shaving with his laser vision or something?
Yeah.
So I think he has to cut his own hair. So Clark Kent's an awesome stylist.
Do you think Clark Kent manscapes? Does he have to laser around his super?
How does he cut the back of his hair?
Here,
I think he has a symbol of hope right above it.
That was when we had the dark times when he had the mullet because he couldn't cut the back, the back of his hair.
Did you say the dark times?
The dark times with the mullet.
All right.
Because it was after the death of Return of Superman in a black costume.
Well,
you ain't wrong.
Guys, go on our Facebook page. Ask us more questions. I keep a list, so I take every question, I write it down. We're getting to them eventually. But ask us more and get crazy with it. We want to this question alone inspired some really, really hilarious stuff. So, come to Facebook and tell us about what you think about the potential of, Superman's manscaping or about Dr. Who and Star Wars.
Please don't ask us about Superman's manscaping.
Do it. Don't listen to Craig. He's a bad influence. But yeah, come on and talk to us. We really enjoy it. So
Please don't make me research that.
I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna put it on your Google history. So whether or not I'm gonna fill up your hard drive with some shit, and because it's already on mine. So last week, do you guys remember when we rolled some dice last week?
We did. Yeah, we forget because Sean won.
Yeah, it's not important.
Sean won second. I won first. So the first of each month, this when this airs, I mean it already is. It's the September 2nd. So the first of each month, we're going to do what we call a spotlight episode, where one member of the cast picks a topic, picks a subject, can be anything that they want, and brings it to the group, and we have a week to do our homework, and we figure out what we want to talk about, and we bring it back. So Sean won the D20 rolls last week because he's a boss. Also, y'all both wrote 11s, and apparently Sean has the bigger decks.
Heyo. That's Dex.
Take it how you will.
With an E, not a die.
We rolled our decks out and put them on the table.
And so Sean asked a question, and it kind of hit me by surprise. I was not thinking about this. He wants to know,
great question
out of us. Yeah, it really was. What's our prized possession? In our collections, in our ephemera of nerd culture. What is our prized possessions? And I'm going to turn the floor over to Sean to explain where that question came from, and then let him kick us off on it.
Well, I thought about it because...
Is it Frankie?
Yes. Shut up, Craig. Because I think it's like, we're all of us at this table, and most everyone listening, I'm sure, are collectors. We all have a hoard of stuff we don't need, but it makes us happy.
Don't need. It's a gray area.
Right. But we all have something we've been like, man, I should have spent that money, but God, I'm so happy I did. And I'm kind of interested, especially with like, Craig has got a very impressive collection. Jerry's got a pretty good one for himself. I think mine's pretty decent, and Caleb's got a pretty nice set himself.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, you do. I thought that might be interesting, just like, but we all know what we collect, we all know what we like, but what is it that we like? You look at everything you own, and you're just like, fuck yes, I'm glad I have that. Whether it's something you've always wanted, something with a sentimental attachment, or just like that was the hardest thing you've searched long and hard for. That kind of, like, yes, I said long and hard, Caleb.
No judgment.
I read your minds. And I'm going to add a little fun caveat to this. I didn't mention it last time. Not taking up too much time, but before one of us goes and says what it is, I want to see if anyone can guess what it is, or maybe what, like, in the genre or area it would be. Like, I'll go first. Craig, I'm going to ask you what yours is first, but I'm first going to guess. I think it's something related to Star Wars.
You are not wrong.
All right. So tell us what's the pride of your collection?
Oh, we don't all get to guess what everyone's is?
I figured like one or two. Yeah.
I mean, go ahead and guess, Jerry. What's mine?
What Star Wars? What do you think?
The Thousand Sunny that I built for you.
That's a pretty nice piece.
It is okay.
Caleb, you want to guess?
It's Star Wars related, but I don't know what all he has. So.
I'm going to guess that it's my cousin's former toy collection that you bought in Chicago. Just because I want to give my cousin Toby a shout out for being an amazing human being.
100% almost was.
Ooh.
I went back and forth between what was going to, and finally it was my wife that kind of helped me pin it down, because in a lot of ways this was like picking your favorite child.
Right. That's the fun of it, is trying to narrow it down.
Literally the thought that went through my brain.
It could have been my Amazing Spider-Man #2. It could have been any number of my pieces of art that I love. It could have been my Millennium Falcon that I got from cousin Toby in Chicago. But ultimately it turned out to be, I have an anthology Star Wars comic book. It's Luke Skywalker, Last Hope for the Galaxy. And what makes this special to me is, number one, my wife got it for me for the Valentine's Day right before we got married. Number two, I've started collecting signatures in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Mark Hamill, who is Luke Skywalker, of course, Anthony Daniels, who is C-3PO, Billy D. Williams, who is Lando Calrissian, Alan Harris, who is Bosk, and I cannot say this guy's name, Junius Suetamo, who is the new Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
And then comic book creator Michael Golden has also signed it, Michael Golden did some of the art in one of the stories in it. So my goal is to continue to get artists or creators that worked on it to sign it, as well as the any Star Wars personalities I meet.
Awesome.
So
very cool. That's just the pride of your collection.
It is at this
definitely
moment,
up there, right?
Yeah,
I know it changes every day.
Yeah, you walk back into the room and look, and it's like, well, maybe I should have chose that thing, but
right.
Yeah,
Very
I'm pretty
cool.
happy with that.
It's a good pick.
Caleb.
Now this is kind of cheating a little bit if you're going to do the guessing because I brought mine into the studio today.
I didn't see it.
Didn't see it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not cheating. Just okay, go.
I'm gonna guess something Namor.
No,
I'm guessing it's a book, so you're looking down at that table.
It is
on the
a
chair.
book. Yep, it is a comic.
I don't know. My guess would be some Namor. He says not correct. Jerry,
I'm going to guess
saw
it's my friendship.
I hold that in my heart.
We are no
That's
longer
just-
asking Jerry what his guesses are.
that is deep in my soul.
I am going to guess that it's a Hulk book.
It is.
Oh.
It
I
is.
thought Hulk was too obvious. I should.
Well, this was like Craig said. This was a really hard thing to do because it is. I hold sentimental attachment to a lot of the stuff that's in my office that I have. I wanted to pick my James O'Barr crow sketch that I have, my original piece of James O'Barr art. I thought about picking the oldest book in my collection. I thought about a lot of things. There's a ton of stuff. I have a Wiccan and Hulkling sketch done by Jim Chung, that two of my favorite characters, gay representation, that was drawn based off of a picture of my husband and I. Could have been either of those things. But I also wanted to pick something that I could bring into the studio to talk to you guys and show you. And so what I decided is it's kind of a love of my comic book history. And so the thing that I brought in is my copy of Hulk number 109. This book was written by Stan Lee. The cover was drawn by Herb Trimpe and John Severin, and the art's by Herb Trimpe, John Severin, and Frank Giacia. It's also signed by Stan Lee, which is what makes this, to me, one of my prized possessions. I know that if you ask some people, lots of people don't like Stan Lee. They be it for historical reasons or issues or just because they want to be edgelord douchebags. I love Stan. Stan at least put his fingerprint on just about every goddamn thing I hold dear in my life. So this book, the cover features not only the Hulk, but another character that I'm a big fan of, Kazar, and Zabu from the Savage Land. And I'm not sure. I think this might be the second appearance of Zabu. I'm not 100% sure. I could be way off on that. But I got it signed by Stan Lee. It was a witness signature, 2017. So, and it completely was a one-off thing. I happened to get a day off when like a thing in Dallas was going on and got to drive, and Stan Lee was there, and so I got him to sign this book. I absolutely love it. It is from November of 1968. And, we just talked about Marie Severin. This book was also done by her brother.
Right.
And this was after she got off the title. Because like I said, she did the first series. And so books like this, and I guess technically I think this is Silver Age, but it's a 12 center. Stuff like this really, so as an adult, have solidified my love of the medium. As into my early 20s, I loved comics just for the fun disposableness of them all, of what they are. As an adult, I'm really getting into the history and looking at the science of comic art and the science of comic writing and how they've developed over the last century. And it's largely because of reading books like this. And so I absolutely, this is it. It's a piece of Stan Lee that I get to keep forever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so that's mine.
Very cool. Well, now we have Jerry.
Hi.
I'm going to guess our friendship. No, actually, my guess is you're a giant size X-Men number 1.
Right.
My guess is that it's going to be a Gundam.
I'm going to say something with One Piece.
Sean got it.
Hey!
I am the best!
I was it 3 years ago I acquired Giant Size X-Men number 1.
Yeah.
Whenever I was growing up, my family and I lived in apartments in Jacksonville, and my cousin and his family lived right next to us. I guess it was more of a duplex situation. We had this guy that sold comic books out of like a van type thing. Like he had
Out
a
by
whole.
the river.
Well, he had a whole like.
Hey, little boy!
he had this whole setup, like a whole collection and stuff. Yeah. And like we were under 10 or so, and he actually gave us free stuff to read. And the book that he gave me was actually the reprint. What were they called? They had the silver border.
The silver border.
I still have it, and I've probably read that thing like a million times. It was one of my favorite books. Always loved the X-Men because of that book. It introduces you to a lot of characters. It was just an awesome book to start off with.
Yeah, first appearance of Storm, first appearance of Colossus, first appearance of Colossus' sister,
Nightcrawler.
Nightcrawler is not Colossus' sister.
Yes, Colossus.
Sure? No, magic.
Liliana.
I always like that was always going to be like my holy grail, like the comic that I was looking for, and. It's not a great grade. I think it's only like a 4 or something, but it's something that I've always wanted. And working at Kapow, I eventually had, I was talking to somebody about it. He's like, well, I'm not like huge attached to it. I only bought it because, I got it for a good price. So he ended up selling it to me, and now I have it in my collection. And it's kind of funny because I got the omnibus that starts with that issue, and it was kind of like a sad point because literally right after that issue, everybody like just turns into giant douchebags and they're like, "No, fuck this! I don't want to be in this team." Oh. But yeah, I was like, all right, Claremont.
Yeah,
wow.
But love that book. It's definitely.
So the grade of the book isn't as important as what the book means to you. My Amazing Spider-Man is only a 3, and I love that book.
Yeah, so. Definitely. Well, now it's my turn.
Go. Do we get to guess?
Is it something in your buggy?
No.
Go ahead, because I think I know what it is.
Savage Dragon #1.
Which one, miniseries or main series?
Both.
No.
It's your Soundwave Men in Box.
See, that's a damn good guess.
Oh, yeah.
Wrong.
Wow. Damn, okay.
I know, right?
And I thought I had it.
It was number 2. It's number 2 because I'm super happy about that. But the thing that's most the pride of my collection is probably one of the lesser known things, unless you're really into the retro gaming community. I have a Nintendo Sharp Teeth television from my childhood.
Nice.
These were, as it sounds, it's a TV with a Nintendo Entertainment System built into it. Originally made in 1983 in Japan, they didn't come here until 1989, which was getting towards the end of the NES lifespan. They were basically discontinued after only 6 months on sale here. They were only available at like Kmart and Sears, so my parents... They had, like, we never had a lot of money. My parents supporting 3 little bastards like me growing up. So I'm sure they must have got it like on a clearance sale. But it still works. It's still a working Nintendo, and it's the only thing from my childhood I still have.
Yeah.
It's not 100% complete, missing controllers, missing a few pieces, but yeah, that's the thing. Like, I can show anyone my Soundwave, and a lot of people know what that is. But I can actually, it's a little bit of the pride of like, you ever heard of a Nintendo television? Like, no. Like, come look at this. And I turn on, I got Tetris in there every time.
Very cool.
So that is the pride of my collection.
And that'll give you a short box full of 10-cent comics for it.
I'm sure he will. He wants it really bad, but he doesn't. I know he don't want to pay the price it would take to get out of my house.
Yeah.
That's mine, but
that's a good one, man.
I mean, that was a really fun question, John.
It really was.
It was really hard to come up with, again, which one was my favorite, but it was a fun question.
I almost picked I have a copy of Spread. It's a graded copy of Spread that Justin Jordan sent me as a wedding gift. Because of he friends on Facebook, he saw her getting married a few years ago. Just speaks to the quality of his character and how nice of a person he is. And that was almost.
He sent that to me too.
Did he?
Yeah, you guys got one too.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah, we all got one. You're not that spit. No.
But yeah, so just I think Justin was my first like quote unquote friend in the comics creator community.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, that meant a lot.
And I mean, we didn't kill too much time, I think, on this. Like you kind of mentioned a runner-up, Jerry. What would have been a toss-up between your Giant Size X-Men #1 and was there anything even close?
It's my Giant Size Man Thing #1. It's his runner-up.
Yeah,
giggity.
I don't. There was really no competition.
No,
yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, I guess if I wanted to do a runner-up, it would be my original Giant Size X-Men #1 that I got as a kid.
Right.
Yeah.
The sentimental value.
Yeah.
And Craig listed mine. That inbox Soundwave that I got is. Yeah, I love it so much.
And mine's probably the Millennium Falcon, just because that was the toy as a kid that I kind of wanted to have really bad. It took me longer than most of the Star Wars toys to get enough money to collect it for various reasons. And then when I got it, it was always my favorite or one of my top couple favorites. So that's to be able to recollect that into my collection.
Good choices all around. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to throw this up after I get this this episode edited and published. I'm going to throw up a thing on our Facebook page and invite people to send us pictures of their Holy Grails in their collection or their favorites in their collection. Come on there and tell us why you love it. Leave us a little blurb. And this is part of the great thing about fandom is showing off what you're proud of and why you're proud of it. And it's part of it that I love. With the caveat, don't go on there and degrade anything that anybody else puts up. Just if you don't like it,
don't be dead.
I feel like that's a caveat with anything on our Facebook page. If you're going to get on there and have fun. But if
it's a happy.
I'm going to steal a little saying from the 11 o'clock comics guys. It's our playground, our rules. Yeah. So if you're going to be on there being a dick, you'll get banned.
Yeah, and we haven't had anyone do that.
We have not.
And that's been awesome. So, just be polite and congratulate other people on their stuff. Come back for every episode, but for sure. At the end of the month, we're going to have the Craig and Jerry showdown.
The showdown.
Where they're gonna roll their dice. It's a duel, and it's fitting because they sit across the table, and Jerry's refusing to make eye contact because he's scared.
Gotta get that good, the bad, and the ugly stare off.
And we're going to see who's going to win for the month of October.
Yep.
And that's I'm pumped.
I don't think I can top Sean's question. So
you're welcome.
It's not a contest.
A little bit. It is a little bit.
All right. Well, let's get into some comics, man. Let's talk about some book.
Some book.
What did you guys read this week? Let's get smothered, covered in comics. And I know I said I was going to change this up for this episode, but I didn't. So, Craig, tell me what you read for this.
Yeah, so this was a really hard week for me. Number one, there was quite a few good books that came out. Number two is the book that I really want to talk about. Mm-hmm. I can't talk about without ruining it for other people. Mm-hmm. And I want to give it a chance for people to read it.
What was it?
Royal City number 14. It finished the storyline, and Jeff Lemire
once again, as he do,
rips your freaking heart out. It's what he does. And read that book, pick it up and read it, because our next trade special, I will be talking about it. So I ended up went from one side of the spectrum, which was real serious story about a dysfunctional family, to Rick and Morty Dungeons and Dragons crossover, which was absolutely freaking amazing. IDW published it. It's written by Patrick Rothfuss and the amazing Jim Zub. Art by Troy Little. Colors by Leonardo Ito. So the book starts out, Morty's at school, either on the school bus or at school, I don't remember, and everybody in school is talking about their latest Dungeons & Dragons campaign. And you can tell from his facial expressions he has no idea what the hell they're talking about. And this kind of goes on all day at school until he overhears 3 of his classmates talking about what they would like to do with the Adventure Zone people. And so it clicks in his head that gamers get laid. So
not true.
So he goes down to the local gaming store, which is being ran. This reminds me of Jerry and Stephanie. He goes down to the local gaming store, and the cute girl working at the local gaming store wants him to play in her game, and he acts like, of course, that he's a veteran gamer because he doesn't want to come across as a newbie. So he's like, well, I'm trying to introduce my friends into this game. Which book should I buy? So she gives him the book, and he goes home and he tries to read the Dungeons and Dragons rule book, and it blows his freaking mind because it's not as simple as you think. And so then he goes to Rick for advice and wants Rick to be able to just put the books in his head. And Rick's like, remember that time you disappointed me when you put that part of your body in the shampoo bottle? And then I got it out of there, and then you disappointed me again by getting the same part of your body stuck in the shampoo bottle again. He's like, I couldn't be more proud of you than I was disappointed in you that day. And so Rick brings all of his old Dungeons and Dragons buddies over, and they sit down to play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's first edition.
Nice.
And so, Morty had been listening to all of his friends just how they're killing everything and blah, blah, blah. He gets fucking annihilated like 9 times. He has to roll a new character that night. And so he hates Dungeons and Dragons. And then Rick's like, okay, now that you got your feet wet in first edition, go eat a couple of sandwiches, carb up, because I'm taking you on an adventure. And uses his portal gun, takes him to an alternate reality where it's all second edition rules. Everybody in there live in second edition rules. Well, Morty rolls a 1. Oh. And stabs Rick in the liver.
I know them feels.
And stabs Rick in the liver. And
was Rick really using his liver anyway?
No. So things happen, and I'm not going to tell you any more about it, but man, this is a fun book. If you like Rick and Morty, you're going to love this comic book. If you like Dungeons and Dragons, you're going to love this comic book. Pay attention to all the backgrounds in the panel. Is I sent Sean and I sent everybody one, but Sean pointed it out that there's a sword with nails in it in one of the panels. Just a lot of fun, and apparently, from what it looks like, they're going to go through each edition of Dungeons and Dragons till they get to the end.
Awesome. May I piggyback?
Yeah, sure.
Real quick. So you said that if you like Rick and Morty, then you're going to like this book.
If you don't like Rick and Morty, you're going to like this book.
This is my caveat because I read this last night. I don't like Rick and Morty. I'm on the record as this. I don't find it humorous. I find it annoying and grating. I laughed out loud several times.
Yeah, it's fun.
I laughed out loud. Like, I got the giggles at one point.
Yeah.
It's a really fun story. Jim Zub's, you can see Jim Zub's fingerprint on it.
Yeah.
Good times. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Caleb really does Rick and Morty. He just doesn't want to.
Well, I mean, and that's my point. If you're a Rick and Morty fan, you'll like it. If you're a role-playing fan, you'll like it. You don't necessarily have to be both of those things.
Right.
And don't necessarily have to be either of those things.
It's a good comic.
It was funny. I mean, it was what I want in a comic book. Sometimes I just want to pick it up and laugh. Yeah. And that's what I did through the whole thing.
Yeah, my problem with Rick and Morty that Jerry kind of alluded to is the same problem I have with shows like South Park. It's not the shows themselves, and this is completely a problem that I have. This is a fault of mine. I can't separate society from the art sometimes. And I see the influence that these things have had on our culture, or at least have on the fan base, which is completely not the fault of the creators. And that diminishes my appreciation of those things. Completely a fault of mine, no one else. It's not indicative of the quality of the show.
In fairness, the creator of Rick and Morty hates the fan base of Rick and Morty, so
you're not wrong.
So, yeah.
There were so many fun things that happened in that book.
I'm really curious to see where they go in issue 2.
Really. Based on the cover, it looks like Beth and Summer are coming to the rescue.
Like they do. So, I read a kind of off-the-wall book this week, too.
Yeah?
Yeah. I read... trying to think about how to approach this.
Donnie Jr.?
No.
Little Donnie?
No, but that's amazing. And did you know that Mike Norton is going to be in Memphis at Memphis Comic Con?
Oh, that's awesome.
Another reason for me to try to get up there. So I read a book that while I was reading it, this book might be, if not the best, it's among some of the best social satire being written today. It takes a hard look at least Western culture, Western society, its influence on everything from politics to our economic endeavors, government entities, injustice, the political sphere or political view of people at the bottom to people at the top. And it really breaks it all down. It wraps it up nicely, and it presents itself in a beautiful package. This book is Lex Luthor and Porky Pig. Let that sink in for a moment.
The crossover books are so much fun.
They absolutely
the DC
are.
crossover books.
They absolutely are. And the reason that this book is as good as it is because it's written by Mark Russell. And Mark Russell is one of the most intelligent writers of social commentary, working in in literature today, not even just comics. And he's doing some of the best work in breaking down our culture, and he's doing it in the pages of comics. And I think that's phenomenal. And, you know, on some level, I think there's always this debate of whether or not comic books are disposable, lowbrow entertainment, or if you can view them as a type of high literature. And I think
yes.
I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is both of those things. And the difference is between those things is Mark Russell. This is the same guy who did the Flintstones book, the same guy who did Snagglepuss. And so in this book, just to tell you a little bit about what it is, Porky Pig is basically, do you know what Bitcoin is?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Basically, he did this thing that was like Bitcoin, and he's loaded. The market's doing great, throwing it up. He's got life. Life is what he wants it to be. You know, got a beautiful girlfriend, eating at the best restaurants, getting respect. You know, a dee respect. And his stocks are doing great. But then, as is wont to do when it comes to anything that is like a digital commodity, it crashes. Someone hacks into his system. It was kind of exactly like what happens with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The bottom fell out, and it fell out in his life. So he gets his world comes crumbling around him. He's now living in a box. He's living in a 1-room apartment that has room for a half of a twin mattress, and his life's kind of gone to shit. Fortunately, some friends at some of the fancy restaurants that he's loved and dined at gave him a job as a waiter. But can you imagine Porky the Pig being a waiter? Do you want fries with that? He's not good at it, and he goes to a dark place, kind of thinks about suicide, doesn't do that either, doesn't work out. Then the book cuts to two more characters, and they are characters that are at a congressional hearing. And so these characters are Dr. Savannah and Professor Ivo. Really, really notable villains cracking up. And they're in this congressional hearing because they're elite scumbags. Do you guys remember, I forget his name a while back, but the younger guy that owned a medical company?
Scarelli.
Scarelli. And he got in trouble. It's kind of a play off that. They have these drugs that their pharmaceutical companies own that can either halt or cure cancer. And they've jacked the price up by thousands of percents. And it's a commentary on that. It's a commentary of what responsibility does the government have to check these private corporations and to limit capitalism. And of course, their response to it is we jack the price up because it's just like the market responding. This is what this is. It's the reason that a $3 bottle of water costs you $7 at Coachella. And so the congressional woman's just like, so you're saying cancer is your Coachella, which is not a direct quote, I don't think, but it's very similar to something that was said at Scarelli's thing. They're scumbags. Of course, they're not the biggest scumbags. They've got higher friend scumbags. And if you can think of DC history, who is the most scummy industrialist supervillain of all?
Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor. I mean, and it's on the title, so it's not a hard stretch, right? I mean, we're not pulling teeth here. Lex Luthor looks at these guys and he's like, you know what? There's ways around this thing, and here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to start my own social media site. We all have looked at the past few weeks and seen how Twitter has stepped up and said, hey, we're not going to ban these hate campaigns. We're not kicking Nazis off our site. It's a free speech issue. There's lots of issues in social media and how our society decided to view them, and how social media can be evil. It's straight up evil. And I agree 100% with the take on this book that it can be evil if used wrong. And so he does. He starts his own thing, his own social media site. It's kind of like a mix between Facebook and Twitter. It's called Lexima, which is some comedy there. The book is really funny. I'm making it sound very serious because I'm more interested in the socioeconomic implications of it because I love the satirical aspect of it. But it's bonkers funny. I mean, every page has jokes on it. That's out the wazoo. And he hires Porky Pig to be his kind of social media manager, to run the social media department of Lexima, and to see how they're going to operate and everything. And keep in mind, this is he meets Porky the Pig when he's acting as a failing waiter, after his tech commodities company has crashed. Should not have this job. Doesn't understand. Well, Porky's not stupid, though. Porky notices that there's some, we'll say, not the best of people. These are there's people on the good, both sides people, that are utilizing this Lexima, the social media site. And what he finds out is that what Lex is doing is he's getting the people who have been banned from other social media sites, and he's tapping into them first. He's bringing them on, giving them a space to kind of let their hate fester. Of course, this backfires on Lex a little bit. When he's talking to his investors and giving them this idea of how he's going to use his Lexima platform to allow people to order medicine online. The first thing that pops up is somebody's trolling. And it's this Daffy Duck type character who's sitting under a tree just being a joker, but he's talking to people, this group, this building of people who are going to invest in his company, and is showing them how it works. He's going to order his medicine online, and he does it. And it pops up and says, hey, this is going to be shipped to your house. Then the troll account pops up. Oh, you got saggy sausage? And it's happening live and embarrasses him. And he takes that on Porky. Of course he does. This goes on. Porky in the time being is focused on what is a real problem in the office. And that's that somebody is stealing the office people's sandwiches at lunch. That they're sneaking in. So of course he's hiring, he gets Hector, the janitor, to come and install an alarm on the refrigerator. And they're going to catch this guys because they're completely undermining the inner office politics and accountability of people because you're stealing their sandwiches. Guess who? I mean, without spoiling who actually is stealing the sandwiches, because it's kind of an interesting take. They don't find them at first. And what Porky does in order to satiate the masses, he fires Hector. He fires the Emmer. He fires the Hispanic guy, and this satisfies all of the office personnel who are drawn to be kind of mid-30s white people, suburban white people. And even though that they know that it probably wasn't Hector, the scapegoat satiates their need to fuck with people. And so they take it out on the immigrant. By the end of the story, Ivo and Savago are back in Congress at a hearing. And kind of they're recapping. It's like, hey, have you done these things? And they're like, well, no. Well, why not? Why haven't you lowered your drug prices? Well, we sold them. Well, Ivo, who'd you sell yours to? Well, I sold them to him, to Chivago. The other guy's like, yeah, we sold ours to him too. That's why none of the prices went down. And they get Lex in there, and Lex is up next, and he's like, well, you're using your social media site for a little bit of evil too. How did you allow this to happen? And this is a one-shot, so there's nothing coming after this. So, completely spoiling it, I guess, in some sense. Lex Luthor's not going to go down. Lex Luthor, he makes a patsy out of a character, and you can kind of it's not hard to follow who the patsy is. It's Porky. Sets him up, takes the fall for utilizing this social media site for evil as a way to tap into people's identities, their lives, to really wrap to get society by the balls. He knows all their deep and dark and dirty secrets, and he did that by being Lex Luthor and being evil, and something that has very real life implications. And unfortunately, Porky takes the fall. But like most things, Porky's going to write a book about it, and we see that more and more in our current political sphere. People being set up as the fall guy for certain high-level politicos, people writing books when things they don't go their way, or when they're set up to take the fall for other high-level people. The rich don't have the consequence of their actions. Mark Russell taps into all of that in one really amazing book. I should also mention the rest of the creative team, because the art in this is extremely good. Brad Walker does the pencils, and he flows. He intermingles these two creative styles of kind of a DC house style and the Looney Tunes. I mean, Porky is a very Looney Tune-esque character. He's drawn like that, along with a Lex Luthor who could very easily be in Superman writing. He blends the two styles immaculately. There are the backgrounds are beautiful. Just the environment he creates, it looks like something that you would see in these in the offices in Google or the offices of Amazon. There are these kind of millennial-esque offices with beanbags and futuristic styles and kind of laid back that are in many ways going to be utilized to bring down society as we know it. They don't have health insurance, but there's a giant goddamn gummy bear that keeps everybody happy. And it's inked by Andrew Hennessy, and I love Hennessy in all shapes and sizes, so good job on that. Andrew Dollhouse. It all goes down smooth. Andrew Dollhouse, and colors by did the colors, and the letters by ALW's Troy and Dave. Really fun book. Also in the back of it, there's another little kind of mini adventure, as is common with these books. Really good times. Some of the most intellectual writing, intellectual social commentary that's being delivered today, and once again, it's being done in comics, and again, it's being done by fucking Mark Russell. I love this dude.
Mark Russell's amazing.
It just he astounds me. He blows my mind.
I read the first couple of pages of the book, and it didn't really catch my intrigue, and it's probably because I was reading so much yesterday when I was reading. So I'm going to go back and reread it, but I've had a lot of fun with all of the DC crossovers, and with it being Mark Russell, I knew I should have kept reading, because so far he hasn't written anything that I haven't loved. His Judge Dredd was great. Mm-hmm. His Snagglepuss, his Flintstones is some of the best comics I've ever read. So,
well, and he really speaks to these things and all of it in a way that you can understand it. Look, you can be the most Trump-supporting alt-right hardliner, and you can read this book and understand it. You can be the most left-wing, George Soros is our god, whatever, worshiping a Soe bee. You can read this and you can understand it. You don't have to agree with it. Right. This is not a comic. This is not art that's supposed to make you feel good. It's supposed to make you feel. Mm-hmm. And I know I've said that 100 times, and I stand by it. For a one-shot, this thing has power. There is a lot of power in this book.
Very cool. All right. My book this week was Runaways number 12. Mm-hmm. It's still been a solid series. I've really been enjoying since I actually got the team together. The reason I'm talking about this is heavy spoiler territory. So, spoiler. Craig, did you read it?
I did.
Runaways. Okay.
I wanted to make sure I read it before.
The ending is why I'm talking about this, and I'm going to spoil it. So, again, spoilers.
When you said you were going to talk about it, I'm like, I'm going to go read that because it's...
Yeah. It opens up first with a flashback sequence from the original run, where Nico and Carolina are alone, and Carolina kind of confesses that she has feelings for Nico, and Nico doesn't have those for her. Right. Unlike the TV show where they kind of jump right into it. I thought I'd remember that it was a little different, but yeah, because Nico's like, hey, I appreciate it, but I'm not really into that. And it starts off with that, and it comes back into the present, where Carolina's having to go to a function for her family's big church funding and everything, and she needs a date. Convinces Nico to go, and so you see them kind of getting a lot closer in this one, to where even by the end of it, they actually are, like Nico says, I'm ready for what you offered me 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So now that Carolina's done with, I can't remember her name, she was in the Power Pack, and now growing up, her and Carolina were in a relationship.
I cannot remember her name for anything.
Yeah, the oldest girl from the Power Pack apparently now is a lesbian, and she was in a relationship with Carolina until that all fell apart in the last few issues of Runaways. So we now have Nico.
Yeah, I'm going back to my brain.
It's like Jenny or something like that. I can't remember, but yeah. So we actually see by the end, Nico and Carolina, Nico's like, you know what, you offered that, and I turned you down, but it's always something I felt like was a possibility, and now she's ready to open it and explore that. The other end of this, we have Gert, who is now back from the dead, and still trying to deal with all that. Mm-hmm. Especially now that she didn't age, she's still 16, while everyone else now is in their early 20s, and been Avengers and gone off planet. So she's still feeling being the outsider. And her and Victor, the cyborg, who now really is just a head on a drone flying around in there, are talking, and they talk about they see the time machine that Gert's parents had. They have in their thing. She's like, it's such a waste that we have a time machine and we can't use it. Because we'll always fuck up the time stream. Every time you go back in time, you got to worry about every little thing. And Victor's kind of agreeing with her, but she's like, you know what, I just want to use it one time to go back to one spot. He's like, kill Hitler.
Of course.
Yeah, but no. she just wants to go back to where there's these extinct butterflies that glow in the dark. And there was one time she had found reported a certain time period in the early 1900s was the last time they were seen.
It's fitting with the butterfly effect.
Julie Power.
The J right, but yeah. And so they end up doing it despite all the issues, even bringing up the time that Gert came back from the future to warn them about Victor because he, creation of Ultron and all that kind of stuff. We get a really nice sequence with them, just her and the robot head. They go back in time, they spot the butterflies, and they share a kiss. Because it's been awkward with her and Chase, even though, Chase brought her back because they were in a relationship right when she died in the original run. But now, Victor's been trying to deal with being a robot and a human, at the same time he still has that human feelings. And he asked for the kiss, and Gert's kind of that's kind of weird, but then they do. So we got two relationships forming. And then I don't know, and then that's when we cut back, and that's when we actually got to Nico and Carolina finally Nico accepting her feelings for Carolina. And I don't know if it's because of the time stream, because they kind of hit implying every time you go back in time, something gets changed.
Yeah, well, it's the butterfly effect, right?
Which I'm literally seeing butterflies. I didn't catch that, actually. Yeah. Very good. Spoiler. Knock at the door. It's Alex.
Really?
Who died in the first run. Who was the one that betrayed the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's at the door and he looks panicked. That's how it ends. I was like, fuck me.
And so, and some of the things with that is we kind of find out why Victor doesn't want his body back.
Yeah, they've been exploring a lot more about him, especially him being with Doombot and everything in the last few issues. Because he's happy just being a head on a drone.
Yeah, currently he's just a head on a drone. So he can get around. He's got a drone. So it was like, oh, now I understand why he doesn't want to be human again. Or have a human body again. Right. He is scared he's going to turn into
weaponized and become another Ultron.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of character development in this issue. Also, not a lot happened until fucking Alex shows up at the door. And I was like, I had to put the book down. Like, okay, I know what I'm talking about.
Just a gut punch. Yeah.
It's like, and like I say, I don't know if it's going to be. It could come from multiple directions. They did the time travel, which always fucks everything up every time, and they even addressed it. That could have been the reason why, or who knows. But it's gotten to be a much better series for me. Like I personally felt a little slow, but it's really picked up steam here in the last few issues.
I think that book has done a wonderful job with character development because there has not been a lot of action in that book. No. But I look forward to reading it every time.
Oh, it's definitely a character study for sure. Yeah, and they're doing it right because, I know I complain about getting the team back together. That's because I've read all the books.
Right.
It's a great series to introduce. Even if you haven't read the Runaways, maybe you saw the TV show or just always heard about them, you still get enough about their origins and the past issues with this series that you can just jump right in.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I guess I'm last but not most. Edge of Spidergeddon
All things can be true, Jerry.
Edge of Spidergeddon number 2 came out this week. I will start off by saying that I didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as the first issue. I still loved it because the art was fantastic. And, the premise, anytime to see, a different take on a character is fucking awesome to me. So the spider that we're going to be following in this universe it's called, I'm assuming it's just pronounced Spider. It's capital S, capital P, / lowercase dr. It's a compatibility between a girl and a robot. Mm-hmm. But it's not like a giant robot, because that's what I was thinking at first, but I felt like that was going to go too far in the realm of
That's just because you want
Spider-Man. Well, I'm going to get him in Spider-Force, so it's kind of interesting. Apparently her father helped create this, or it was her aunt and uncle. I can't remember. I know he was the former pilot of it, and he died, and then she became the new pilot. And the people who were on this book were Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson did the words. Gerard Way wrote the original that was in Spider-Verse. Pencils and inks was Alberto Albuquerque. Mm-hmm. Colors were Triona Farrell. letter VC's Corey Petit, and
she's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Triona Farrell has been in, like, every one of us have had a book that she's been coloring in the past.
Having an amazing career right now.
The cover, which is fantastic, was Jake Wyatt. And I mean, like I said, like the art was really great. And I think the only thing in my mind that I didn't enjoy about it, it just wasn't as fun. It was more dark, like a darker thing than the last issue with Spider-Punk and everything. And they didn't really reference as many things as they did in Spider-Punk. And not to mention there was no, like, punk rock Hulk in it. So
well, that just diminishes the quality of everything.
So it picks up essentially, I guess, a while after Spider-Verse happened. Her dad died, so she's still going over having that happened. And nobody's really talking to her because they don't know how to after this. She gets approached by this girl who is named Addie Brock. She's trying to, and like the whole time, I didn't even say the name. Penny Parker is our Parker in this universe. Okay. She's the Spider pilot or whatever. So she's also constantly has this little spider on her shoulder, and they never really explained it. So I'm assuming it has something to do with like how she operates her robot and everything. So this girl Addie's just trying to talk to her and like basically tell her that, you know, she knows about this stuff too. When, you know, she just Penny gets frustrated and storms off because of, you know, everything that's going on. She just doesn't, you know, want to deal with this right now. Goes off to talk to her aunt and uncle, who don't really seem like they're great. Like, you know, how we have Uncle Ben and Aunt May in our universe, and they're great nurturing people.
Well, at least one of them.
Yeah. Well, you can only assume that Uncle Ben was nurturing. They don't really seem like that. Because they're scientists in this world, and they actually work on the program that created the spider robot. They flash forward to showing, you know, her in her suit. She's actually painting on the robot, and one of the things that she paints on is a Totoro, which is great. But it almost has like a Evangelion, if anybody is familiar with that at all. It's kind of like a lanky, skinnier robot design. May's working on some new spider trap launcher. It's like webbing trap launcher. And as Addie's helping her with that, or Penny, I'm sorry, I said Addie. She notices that other girl walking in like a suit like hers, and she ends up, Penny ends up like sneaking around and looking and seeing that they're working on a new mech, and it is the Venom, and it's capital VEN $M. And it's special because it's got the sim engine, which connects directly to your brain, so it helps you. It helps with the symbiosis of it. So they end up getting a call, and she rushes off to fight. And I hope that this is like an ongoing thing in the world, that all of their supervillains, instead of being supervillains, are kaiju, because the one that she gets called to fight is Morbius, and it's a giant like electric. It feeds off of electricity. So it's going around, you know how Morbius would feed off of people's life force. Well, this feeds off of electricity. And she's kind of going in a little headstrong and just ends up getting her ass kicked. So they sent in Venom. And, of course, she's going in and just beating the hell out of this thing. And something goes wrong with the system. And it starts, like, connecting her. And it's kind of nightmarish. May goes down into the robot to save her. And when she opens up the hatch, she's just got like all these cords like jacked into her and everything. And like the system's trying to take over her mind.
Like an actual parasite.
Yeah. And it starts doing the same thing to May. And they're like, it's just showing all these systems going red and mental toxicity going down. And it actually has basically a throwback to Evangelion. Like how familiar are you with it, Sean?
I'm a bad anime fan. I have never watched it.
Well,
I know enough.
So in Evangelion, the giant robots that they had were essentially repurposed. Like they had these monsters they were fighting called angels.
Yeah.
they took them and then basically recreated them into robots. Well, at one point, they have problems connecting the brain waves and being on the same level, so the main character like loses focus and the thing just like goes berserk and it's like mouth opens and it roars. This happens here. Like it's straight up like reference to that. And then the Venom robot starts attacking Penny and they just get into it. Eventually she uses the webbing trap that they were messing with earlier to subdue her. And then when they open the cockpit, May and Addie are both gone. Like she doesn't know what happened to them. And it was Uncle Ben's, fault. It was his system and it wasn't ready and he put it out there. So now he's feeling guilt for it. And they're trying to figure out what to do next when portal opens and Spider-Ham comes out.
Of course.
And he is the one that pretty much tells her like, hey, we need help. And so she realizes from, the Spider-Verse stuff that, she needs to go, because great power and great responsibility.
Yeah, but she goes and she didn't take her suit.
She didn't. I noticed that. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I'm assuming she's going to, have it somehow. In this
did her little shoulder spider go with her?
Yeah. It's pretty much with her the whole time. So I'm super excited about the next one.
I think you're picking up on a thread that they dangled. Like I think purposefully. I think that's going to play a big part in it.
So we'll find out. The next one though, Edge of Spidergeddon 3. I think Peter's a little bit younger in this one, but he ends up getting the spider powers, and Uncle Ben gets shot. But they get him to the emergency room, and he needs a blood transfusion. So he blood transfused with Peter. So they become basically a crime-fighting Spider-Man team, and I'm super excited about that one. But it was a great week in comics.
It was. Well, why don't we talk about some of our runner-ups and go around the table and list one or two books that we really enjoyed but that didn't make it to our book of the week.
I really enjoyed Venom. It was really a toss-up between this and that because I didn't know what to expect. I knew that they had this Rex Strickland character. I can't remember. I think that was his last name. But it ended up turning out to be a Nick Fury and Wolverine team up going into Vietnam to fight these symbiotes that have gone out of control. Mm-hmm. It was pretty badass.
Nice. Sean.
I only got 2 books this week, so the runner-up was the end of New Mutants Dead Souls number 6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there's going to be another series. Have you read it?
I read it.
You're the only one reading it.
Yeah, and I was just as confused as you sound.
Spoilers. Warlock, who has been shown throughout the series, has possessed everybody. And not in a good way. Because he fused with Doug back in the day.
Right.
Cypher.
Friend Doug. Yeah,
friend Doug. And, basically, Karma's brother has been manipulating her this whole time. Mm-hmm. And, it ended with, the entire team possessed by them and being controlled by her evil brother. So I'm assuming there's going to be another series.
Yeah, I have no idea how that is how you end a story. Because it's straight up not the end of the story.
If it's the end, and for New Mutants run, they're going to definitely pop up somewhere else as a villain for somebody.
They have to, because otherwise that whole series makes no sense.
I said, it's Warlock possessing them, but it's not in a good saving them kind of way. He's being manipulated. His cybernetic cells are being manipulated for evil, and it's a the end question mark.
Nice.
So
they're at least leaving the door open for themselves.
Indeed.
I already talked about Royal City.
Mm-hmm.
Two other great books this week were both the DC crossovers. I did not read the Harley one, but the Joker Daffy Duck one was a lot of fun. And the Tweety Bird and Sylvester and Catwoman one was so good. It was almost my book of the week too. So was just a lot of fun.
Well, I'm only about halfway through my stack for the week. Haven't made it all the way through. Haven't made it to any of the independent books. Cullen Bunn's Bone Parish. I'm excited to read that one. Number 2 came out. I haven't gotten to it yet. But Extermination number 2 came out, which I'm still really enjoying that little crossover. I think Pepe Larraz is that dude.
It was good.
That motherfucker can draw. is about all I can say. He's laying the shit down and he's doing it right. He reminds me a little bit of Ken Lashley. Not the same style, but there's some crossover. Like they come from at least the same school. X-23, sticking in the Marvel family. X-23 is amazing. Mariko Tamaki is writing her, just doing amazing things in books. She has come such a long way. I've talked about it before. I read her Hulk book or her She-Hulk book. Didn't love it as much. I loved it as a collected edition way more than I liked it issue to issue because she's used to writing like YA graphic novels. Really came a long way and is writing issue to issue. X-23 and Gabby are the shit. I love those characters. I want a book where it's Gabby and Thori from Thor. Like, if we can get at that, if Gabby can have her own murder dog and also her little Wolverine pet, it'd be great.
Speaking of Thor, before you go on, getting a new artist.
Yeah, I heard about that. Tony Moore, man. Oh, that's gonna be the hotness.
Yeah, because that book's been really solid. It's just the art hasn't done it. But anyways, yeah, I'm glad to see Tony Moore on that book.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but not least, the Red Hood Annual came out, and it's Jason and Roy Harper doing a little bit of a road trip, a little bit of an adventure, recapping what they've been through in the Red Hood book, setting itself up for more, taking these really, really quirky, funny, jokey moments and lacing it with these really serious elements of addiction and stuff. But it's
both Red Hood and the Outlaws tends to do.
It's both silly and serious.
Helicopter arrow and shovel arrow got me.
Yep, I laughed really, really hard. But those are my little runner-up books and stuff that you might consider going and picking out if you haven't yet. And of course, there's always more stuff on the shelf, and you can come and tell us about what you're reading.
Beyonders was really good too.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask because that was your book of the week last week.
Yeah, it was. My getting ahead of ourselves book last week, and it was really good. It was everything I said in the last week. So go listen to last week's episode if you
absolutely always and come back next week for the next one, and we'll tell you what we liked in. But speaking of next week, just because I made my own segue because that was the only way I could figure out how to do it because I'm not good at my job. Let's get ahead of ourselves and kind of talk a little bit about what we are going to be picking up next week. At least one book from each of us that we are going to recommend that you go buy wherever you want to go buy it. My book is called War Bears because why the fuck wouldn't it be? It's War Bears #1, and it is from the award-winning author of The Handmaid's Tale, Miss Margaret Atwood. Also wrote Angel Catbird, which is really good. I love her.
Angel Catbird?
Angel Catbird. Oh. It's a graphic novel. Extremely good. I'll get it to you if you haven't read it yet. It's going to be drawn by Ken Stacy. It's an action-adventure. The main character is a fictional Nazi fighting superheroine. Is created at the peak of World War II by a comic book creator who dreams of making it big in the early world of comics. The story that follows in the days of comics in Toronto is a a brutal war that greatly strains the AI personality and professionally. Yeah, it's Margaret Atwood. Have you seen The Handmaid's Tale? Have you read The Handmaid's Tale? Fuck.
I didn't realize that. I might have to pick that up for Vanetta because she's a huge fan of Handmaid's Tale.
Goddamn right.
I might buy that book then.
It's phenomenal. If not, if this is a book I didn't pre-order, so I'm hoping we can get in. If not, I'm going to read it digitally. And because I got to read it, it's called War Bears. Why wouldn't you read this book? So that's what I'm suggesting.
My original pick was Guardians of the Galaxy by Colin Bunn, but then I realized that Vertigo has a new title coming out next week, Bordertown.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen anything on that?
Mm-hmm.
It's a new ongoing series by Eric M. Esquivel and Raymond Villalobos. It sounds super interesting. When a crack in the border between worlds releases an army of monsters from Mexican folklore, the residents of Devil's Fork, Arizona blame the ensuing weirdness, the shared nightmares, the otherworldly radio transmissions, the mysterious goat mutilations on goddamn illegals, with racial tension supernaturally charged, is up to new kid in town Frank Dominguez and a motley crew of high school misfits to discover what's really going on in the town torn between worlds. And it looks great. I'm pretty sure that's a chupacabra on the cover.
Naturally. My book I'm looking forward to is a book I'm hopeful for. So I can start annoying all of you talking about Tom King's Batman again. Now that we're done with Law and Order Batman. Number 54 is coming out next week. Of course, by Tom King, artist is still Lee Weeks. Dick Grayson, the original Robin, gets to spend some quality time fighting crime with his mentor for the first time since Batman popped the question to Catwoman. Mm-hmm. So we're getting back to day-to-day life, or night-to-night life with Batman, fighting crime, and dealing with what happened with Catwoman. It's a walk down memory lane as Bruce Wayne helps Dick get over the loss of his high-flying acrobat parents, which in turn led to his crime-fighting career. Guest artist Matt Wagner jumps on board for the special issue.
All right. I didn't know Matt was doing that.
Yeah, they're saying artist Lee Weeks, and also in the description says Matt Wagner. I don't know what's going on.
We'll find out.
We will find out next week.
Stay tuned. Same Bat channel, same Bat time.
I'm hoping, like granted, like I said, even King's, for me, the writing hasn't been interesting. It's still good. If you like court drama, you may have enjoyed those last 3 issues. It's just not my cup of tea. So I'm still excited. I'm still fully supporting King's run on Batman. It's been overall phenomenal, even with the lows. The highs have been more than worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my book should be no surprise to anybody. The Dreaming.
Yeah.
Vertigo Comics. Cy Spurrier and Bilquis Evely. We start to learn about what's going on in Dream's realm since he abandoned it, why there's a rip in the wall, and Dora, the evil monstrous, is trying to take over people's dreams. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
All right.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
When are they? Do you happen to know when they're doing Lucifer? Because I know that's a book that's coming.
It's probably going to be. I would imagine this will be one this week, and then next week will be one of the. So there's, I think, 4 titles. So it'll probably be within the next couple of weeks.
I'm excited about that one.
Got an honorable mention just because it really struck me when I was going through Midtown's previews for next week. There is a free comic, limited 1 per customer, that should be going to most stores. Hopefully your local comic store will have it. It's called I Read Banned Comics.
Very cool.
Limited 1 per customer. It's they really banned this. From Watchmen to Bone, as we mentioned earlier. Spider-Man to This One Summer. Comics are still being attacked. This giveaway showcases banned comics your customers should read to celebrate Banned Books Week. Highly recommend.
Very cool.
Probably, but hopefully your local comic shop owners will have some for you to grab, because if nothing else, like, if you've ever heard about certain books being banned, even if they no longer are, just the brief description they gave of issues that are going to be, I'm sure it's going to be a few, if not an entire first issue, at least certain selections of some damn good books. So we're picking up, and your comic book shop should be giving you one for free, so maybe get a chance to read some books you never would have.
The 5th and final issue of Mark Waid's Ant-Man and the Wasp comes out now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm super
That's been
sad.
a lot of fun.
Oh, man, I've loved it so much. Yeah, it's been a great series.
Mark Waid, man.
Yeah.
Regardless of what certain people say, Mark Waid can still write comics.
Oh, he's good.
Yeah.
I'm actually sad because he's leaving Archie.
Is he?
Yeah, they're going back to the old numbering. They're going to stay in the same story style,
right,
but Nick Spencer's taking over.
Okay.
I'm okay with it, but it's Mark Waid's been phenomenal on Archie, so I'm kind of sad for that.
Well, guys, do we got any further business we need to take care of before we bring this thing home?
No, I think I'm
We're good.
All right. Well, let's wrap this thing up. We really hope you've enjoyed our show. We really love bringing it to you. We have a lot of fun with it. It's great getting to sit around and talk to my boys every week, and it's great to hear from you about me talking to my boys and my boys talking to me, and just doing the thing that we love to do. Please join us on Facebook. You can find us at the Southern Fried Geekery Podcast. Come on Instagram and Twitter. We're at SFG Podcast on both of those. You can email us any comments, causes, or concerns that you have to southernfriedgeekery@gmail.com. And if you want to do us a jumbo, ginormous, huge couple of favors, you can go rate and review us on iTunes. That's where it lets a lot of people know how we're doing and kind of bumps us up on their scale. And then you can also share our YouTube feed. Kind of, I guess I'm not. It's not technically a video, so I don't really know what to call it. But it's we put out all of our recordings on YouTube. And Little Birdie told me that we're fixing to be dropping some bonus content on YouTube. So if you haven't followed our YouTube page, you should, because you're going to get extra stuff that we don't bring to our podcast. Kind of some neat stuff in the works. We'll keep you posted. Other than that, did I forget anything? You're looking at me.
No,
that's just his face.
That's just what it is. I did realize that the Thanos Legacy book comes out next week with Don Cates, and he's been hyping that up like crazy on Twitter. So inside.
Well, nice. Well, if you're barbecuing this week for Labor Day, be safe. Don't burn yourself. Drink plenty of beer if you drink beer. If you don't drink it.
And use charcoal because butane's a bastard gas.
True. And then go forth and love some comics, guys.
Yeah.